As an alternative to smoking, vaping is considerably cheaper, so it's only natural to want to extend that saving even further. Other than e-liquid, the main cost for vapors is coils. Here we're going to look at a few ways you can ensure that your coils can last as long as possible. Simply put, a coil is made up of a piece of absorbent material, usually cotton, called the wick, which is surrounded by a wound piece of conductive wire, like an old school incandescent bulb filament. The wire heats up the liquid that has been soaked up in the cotton, turning it into vapor. So, first tip, prime your coil. First and foremost, when fitting a new coil, it's important that you prime it. This ensures that you're minimizing the chances of any dry spots in that wick the first time the coil is fired up. Priming a coil means adding a few drops of e-liquid on the exposed parts of the wick and letting that soak in. After priming and filling the tank, it's highly suggested that you leave a new coil for 5 to 10 minutes to let that liquid fully soak into the wick. Number 2, don't run dry. It can be tempting to vape until you can't see any juice left and then refill your tank. This runs the risk of your wick becoming dry and burning prematurely. To avoid this, make sure you keep your tank topped up. Number 3, don't stray too far. Most pre-made coils will have a suggested wattage range to be fired within. This is usually printed on the side of the coil. As you can see, this 1.8 ohm Nautilus coil has a recommended wattage of between 10 and 14 watts. Ensuring that your mod is firing within this range will help to ensure that your coils don't burn out prematurely. Number 4, start your wattage low. Going almost hand in hand with watching the wattage range is giving your coil a chance to bed in. Some coils will fire optimally, say between 45 and 55 watts, and some even higher. To ensure a coil with a range of 45 to 55 heats up correctly at first, you could start a little lower. Vape it at that setting for around 15 to 20 minutes and then slowly increase that by 5 watts over a course of a couple of hours. Number 5, don't fire without airflow. When metal is heated, it expands and becomes more fragile. Passing air over that metal will ensure that it is kept as cool as possible. It can seem counterproductive as the coil is needed to heat up to vaporize the e-liquid, but that's all it needs to do, heat the liquid. It doesn't need to get it too hot. Maintaining a good level of airflow will ensure that the coil doesn't get too hot. It's with that in mind that you shouldn't press the fire button when you aren't pulling on the e-cig. Also, continuing to pull slightly after you've released the fire button can ensure that the coil is effectively cooled. Number 6, don't fire needlessly. With the airflow of the coil in mind, it's important to make sure that you aren't firing your coil when you aren't vaping. Don't hold down the fire button before or after drawing on the tank. One very common time where people are firing needlessly is when they don't lock their mod when they put it in their pocket or in a bag. Make sure you know how to lock your mod and get it locked whenever you're not vaping. Number 7, getting hot. One sign of firing your coil more than you need to, and also a sign of pushing your coil too much, is the feeling of your tank getting uncomfortably hot. There are 2 main reasons for why this can be happening. Firstly, you could be firing it needlessly, as we've just said. Changing the way you fire your tank is an easy thing to do, and will only take a few times of you consciously firing at the right time and in the right order for it to become second nature. Alternatively, you could be firing it too often, causing the coil to stay hotter for longer. More often than not, the cause of this is simply you are craving more nicotine than you're getting. This tends to happen when you first step down your nicotine and is rectified by just firstly either being aware of it or stepping your nicotine back up to a more acceptable level, at least for the time being. Number 8, are you getting enough? When you first start vaping, it's guesswork as to what nicotine level to start at. Generally, we suggest that if you were a 20 to 30 day smoker, you should start off at around 12 milligrams of nicotine liquid. If you started at say 3 milligrams instead, it's more than likely that you'll vape much more frequently, leading to overheating your coil due to firing it up more regularly and stopping your coil from cooling. It should also be noted that just as you reach for a cigarette at times of stress, the same emotions can make you vape harder and more often, leading to burning out your coil quicker. Number 9, your juice could be killing your coil. It's a simple fact that the sweeter the liquid you're vaping is, the quicker your coil will burn out. There's a guy here at Vapable who's a gingerbread fiend. It's his go-to all-day vape, but he goes through coils like they're going out of fashion. It's the trade-off only you can decide. Is the cost of more coils worth it for your favorite flavor of sweet, cakey goodness? Number 10, coil lottery. Finally, if you're doing everything we've said and you're still having problems, there's one thing to bear in mind, and it's commonly referred to as the coil lottery. If you're finding that without changing anything, one coil can last up to 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden your next coil is burnt out within a couple of days, you may not be doing anything wrong. You may just be losing at the coil lottery. However, if you follow these tips, you've got the best chance of your coils lasting as long as possible.